All right, we are live. Today is Thursday, March 4th, and this is our weekly developer check-in meeting. Before we jump into the agenda, let's go around and do some quick introductions. I'll start. My name is Jen Lampton. I'm joining from Oakland, California. I've been very busy, mostly with backdrop stuff, which is exciting. And I'm looking forward to looking over today's agenda. So let's turn it over to Nate.
Hey, I'm Nate Lampton, also Oakland, California. And yeah, I've almost have caught up with things in the RTBC list, which is exciting for me. And there's lots of activity happening that we will be talking about. Let's go to Joseph, if you could give us a little intro.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. Backend developer doing actually not a lot of backdrop stuff recently, but yeah, just here to see how I can help. Jason?
I'm Jason Platt, also from Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. I'm backend developer also. I have no agenda to push, just here to see what's going on. Tim.
Hi, I'm Tim Erickson, St. Paul Tim. I am in Deerwood, Minnesota, and totally focused on Backdrop Live and sort of outreach stuff right now. So just haven't really been in the issue queue very much. So I don't have a lot to add to that this week. But anyways, everybody come to Backdrop Live next Friday. Jason, did we get you?
Yes, we got everybody. You're the last.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. We have a couple of new contributed modules this week. I was very excited to see classy paragraphs come in earlier this week. So that's a module that lets you add specific class to your paragraphs, which makes it nice tool for integrating with styles in your theme. Jitsi Meet Field, which is exciting. That looks like a probably new for backdrop module that'll integrate directly with Jitsi, so you can open up a link directly from somewhere, which is pretty cool. And Font Your Face, the good old trusty Drupal module, got ported over this week too with the first stable release. For tasks related to backdrop CMS.org websites, we have ongoing issue number 487 in the backdropcms.org queue for supporting more information about a module or theme or layout in its .info file. Document's done a bunch of work on that. In the last week, I merged it into the backdropcms.org repository, but has not been deployed on the backdropcms.org site yet. There's a handful of other things that are going to be going in at the same time, so I wanted to do some more testing on all of them before we push them live. Our events site is also up, events.backdropcms.org. Right now, you can go there and register for Backdrop Live, which is happening in a week. And we have the donation form up. So the way it works right now is first you register and then it redirects you to a donation form where we ask you to make a donation. But if you cannot afford to, you can skip the last step. And then I think that's it for Backdrop CMS.org properties. There's obviously a bunch more stuff that we're trying to do everywhere. And I would encourage anyone who wants to help with those to jump into the various issue queues in the Backdrop Ops group.
Well, maybe I'll just say quick. I created a stream in Zulip for infrastructure discussions, and I don't know if we need that or not. It seemed helpful at the time. Any feedback on that would be welcome. But if you're interested in infrastructure stuff, and we do keep that channel, please join it.
Great. Let's turn it over to Nate to talk about Backdrop CMS itself.
All right. Product update 118 is our current release of Backdrop 118.1, and 118.2 will be the next bug fix release that we are going to be putting together. We went through a bunch of issues this week. I think we now have 11 issues merged into 118.2. I was just looking over an issue that Indigo Zella filed earlier this week that field sets can now look funny in the latest version of Firefox. That it looks like we actually had a we had a Mozilla prefix in our CSS for a Firefox fix that apparently Firefox finally fixed their own issue, and now our fix is causing it to be broken. Classic. So thanks for taking that one on, Indigo Zella. Let's see, what issue is that? That is issue 4971. That is already RTBC. So I'm looking forward to getting that one in. Big issues that we've got. The CK editor maximize button can cause content to be unable to be saved, issue 4933. We do not have any development yet on that. Help is being sought to get that problem fixed, probably JavaScript related issue. Let's see, next up, language names are not translated into their native names, issue 4511. That issue was merged this week. That does add some additional API capabilities to language objects, so that now languages have their name as they are written in English, and now they also have the name as they are written in that language. So that is still, although merged in, it's not closed yet because we need a changelog record describing that new capability. Indigo Zella took a stab at drafting that, which was appreciated. We need to get that copied over into the docs site for reference. Next up is there a question there? No. Okay, next up is PHP 8 support, issue 4772. Joseph put in a bunch of work on this a couple of months ago now. It still needs review and some additional testing. It's a lot easier now that PHP 8 is a little bit more widely available, including on Lando, which can help local testing of Backdrop. So if you have a PHP 8 environment, we would love it if you could do some testing there. Let's see, and lastly, menu active trail gets confused when the same path is used in menu links for multiple languages, issue 4798. This is an issue that has a pull request that fixes the problem, but it needs test coverage. And that's it. Those are the items that we've got pulled out of 1.18.2 as being relatively priority issues. However, there are currently 79 issues tagged with 1.18.2. So that's an awful lot of issues that we could potentially get in much sooner. Okay, 1.19. 1.19 is the next minor version of Backdrop. It'll be coming out January 15th, 2021, with feature freeze on May 1st. The first issue that we have in the 1.19 milestone to discuss is a changing of the paths, issue 4899, the edit role menu path. We're changing that to be configure to add consistency with the rest of the paths in Backdrop that use configure for editing for saving configuration and edit for editing content. So that pull request has been merged. There was a derivative issue related to that although we've changed the paths from edit to configure, in the event that those paths also contain wildcards, such as the name of the role, those wildcard paths are not redirected. And so there's a sub issue for this 2833 that I've picked back up as something that we could get fixed sooner rather than later. So I rerolled that pull request yesterday. John Franklin gave me a pull request review on that almost 2 years ago, which was very helpful. I took that feedback and finally incorporated all of the changes there, and I think that issue is now ready to be reviewed, which would be great. There's actually a lot more wildcard redirects now than there were at the time that issue was originally opened. I think that in updating that pull request, there's now, it moved from like 3 wildcard redirects to like 12 wildcard redirects. So we've actually got lots of deprecated paths that aren't being fully redirected from their old locations to their new locations, and that solves all of the problems there. Let's see, BWPanda was advocating for an issue, issue 4966, allow server settings to be overridden in settings.php. This issue actually has been closed, is being kind of withdrawn because there was a workaround posted to that issue that solves the problem without any additional API changes. So that frees up BWPanda to take on another issue, hopefully in the future. Exposed file name filter for the media library dialog, issue 3293. We'd like to improve the media browser to add a exposed view filter, but there is an issue with adding exposed filters not working inside of that dialog. So we're still seeking a developer for this issue. Lauren is the advocate for it. And we've tried a couple of approaches, but we've hit snags in those current approaches. So we need to start anew with an approach that solves an underlying issue with having nested form tags one inside of the other there. So as simple as that sounds, it actually turned into something that is a little bit gnarly. Next up is advanced caching, adding cache tags and a dynamic cache max age header, issue 4127. Joseph is the advocate for this. It's been in needs review for quite some time. I have not had a chance to take a look at it yet, and I don't think there have been any comments on that recently. But Joseph,
There have not been any.
Anything else you'd like to add?
You summarized it all pretty well.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I'm on a little bit of a roll here, and I'll pause for a minute here to let Jen talk about her next issue, which is add field has value visibility condition, issue 4728.
I haven't worked on that recently.
Say, this is why I was just barreling right along. But thank you, Jen. Thank you, Joseph. Next up is Doc Wilmot's issue, add support for relationships to layout contexts, issue 2134. There hasn't been any update recently. It's still just really minor naming issues that need to be addressed. Okay, I was hoping Greg would be here to talk about this next issue. Merge the update pages for core modules, themes, and layouts onto a single page, issue 2714.
It might be worth mentioning that Gregory's not here because there's an earthquake happening in Greece. So for those who haven't seen that,
a big one, 6.8.
Yeah, we should all be thinking about Gregory. We haven't heard any news that it's affected them directly, other than that they've had to be outside to get away from the potential damage. So.
Thank you, Tim, for bringing that up. And I apologize for my insensitivities around nagging him for not being present at a software meeting. Yeah, thanks, Tim. The status of that issue, though, is that it's still in development, and I think that we're just basically in a holding pattern while Gregory continues to work on that issue. I also took a look this week at the 119 milestone, of which there's only, let's see, 6 open issues now that we closed the URLs for roles from edit to configure. That's 1 closed issue. So now there's only 6 open ones. However, I took a look at the milestone candidate minor. These are the issues that people think should be added into a near release of Backdrop, but have not officially had candidates added and have not officially had an advocate added, and so they're not in the next milestone, but there's 56 of them. So it's quite a large collection of features that we would like to see in the near future. And I would say that if you're out there looking for an issue to advocate for, that's a really great place to take a look under the milestone candidate-minor tag on GitHub. Plus, it's also great to just go through that list and see, yeah, there are a lot of things that are rather important that we get done. And maybe some that aren't. Maybe we could clean that list up a little bit. We still have lots of time though, or at least some time before May 15th. So I would definitely encourage people to start looking at what issues they would like to push forward for the 1.19 release now, rather than at the end of April. Let's see. Initiatives. Initiatives are the next section that we talk about every week, and initiatives are long-spanning projects that aren't necessarily tied to a particular release. We have the unofficial initiative for documentation. BWPanda is the initiative leader. Peter, I see that you just joined into the meeting. I'm not sure if you're prepared to give us any kind of update on documentation and if there's anything to report.
Yes, I saw that Jen had set up feeds to copy content from backdropcms.org to the new documentation site. I had a look and I think there's some tweaking needed, like the sorry, one sec. The unique field for each one was set to be the title, and so if the title ever changes, that could cause some issues. So I might do some tweaking there.
I pushed an update to that after the fact, where I added a new field called Legacy NID and used the node ID on the old site, because that made me nervous too. So
Yeah.
Hopefully that should be working off of the new unique field now.
Okay. Yeah, I just took a look at it the first time I saw it, so I'll have another look. So now that's sort of copying content over, I think we just need to then work out how to set up the menu structure so all those new nodes can be visible on the new doc site. And I was wondering how to go about that. Like if we want to make a change to documentation, like someone finds a typo or something, if we change it on the doc site, it'll be reverted once the new synchronization comes across. Is that correct? Or
so if we change like a node title or node body, it would be reverted when this stuff comes in. But if you add it to a menu, it shouldn't be changed. We could, so there's a special handling for what you want to do when updates happen on the source file. And right now it's just set to overwrite them. But we could probably fiddle with that if we wanted to like overwrite the body, but not the titles or something. So let me know how you want to handle that and we can account for it.
my initial thought is that now that all the content's there, we just need to organize it, put it in the menu system, and then maybe just disable the copying. So then we just have a canonical source of documentation that can be updated. And,
okay. Well, here's an idea. We could also turn it around the other way. If you wanted to say the doc site is now the canonical source, we could instead import changes to the live site until we're ready to launch the doc site.
Well, I mean, once we have everything in the menu structure, like the people
It should be fine.
It all, I think it'd be ready to go live. Like,
okay.
I mean, it's easy to revert stuff if needed, but yeah.
Okay.
So I'll take
yeah, menu changes you should be able to do without any issue because I didn't pull over any of that.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing was the formatting and images and stuff weren't being copied over. At least the first time I looked at it, I don't know if that's been changed since, but when I compared a node on backdropcms.org and then the same node on the doc site, the doc site was basically just plain text, whereas the other one had like headings and images and formatting and stuff. So,
yeah, I set up a new text format on the doc site, but I did not, I don't think I configured it. So that's probably why like headings and stuff are missing. I should probably compare those to make sure it's the same. And then images I did not copy over. So we'll need to see where the images were on the old site and copy that directory over. I think it's probably something like, I don't know, but we'll need to copy the images over, and I need to make sure that the file references in the nodes get updated. So we'll need an update hook for that.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take a look when I can.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Peter, and thanks, Jen. The next initiative to discuss is telemetry, collecting the way Backdrop is used on actual sites and then reporting that information back to backdropcms.org. Tim, you are the initiative lead. Can you fill us in?
Sure. As I posted in the agenda, again, no updates. I think we'll see if we can fit that into the Backdrop Live agenda somewhere to maybe do a report on where we're at. Yeah, nothing more to add.
Okay. And lastly, the Ready to Wear initiative that Luke McCormick had been heading up. That initiative is winding down. Work is being done on a final report that will include some recommendations for the future. But other than that, it is pretty well complete. That's it. Do you guys have anything you would like to discuss as just general status of Backdrop, banter, anything?
Well, since there's some time and it came up in Zulip this week, we could talk briefly about the survey that we did about things that people wanted to see in Backdrop. And some people are now saying, so, okay, what do we do with the results? And as we've said many times, there was never any promised action on the results other than that hopefully it was useful information that could help us all shape where we put our focus and our ideas. But I think there, and well, I don't know that we're in a position to like, okay, we're going to take on number one on that list. There might be some things we could do to sort of help from a discussion perspective, move those issues forward. So I was thinking that maybe over the course of the next few, one thing we could do that wouldn't be a huge commitment is just take like the top 5 issues in that survey and spend some time talking about them. One, are they actual desirable things to have in core? How big are they? What would it take to get them moving? I don't have it open in front of me right now, but I'm going to it quickly list what like the top 5 were. Number 1 was field group functionality to core. Number 2 was allow multiple file image uploads. Number 3 was add reference module to core. Number 4 was add a recipe project type to Backdrop. And then for number 5, we have a 3-way tie, add an icon font to core, automatic updates, and expose fields to visibility conditions. So a few of these I think are already being worked on and have substantial progress made. At least one of them is like totally vague. Add recipe project type to Backdrop. That's like an idea that what that would look like. There's a lot of thought that would have to go into that. So, but it's also one that interests me. So I don't know. Any thoughts on how we might, again, without the resources to like necessarily mandate focus on any of these? Is there anything we can do to, further that input we got or to move those things along? Any thoughts?
One idea is that, one idea is that if we can get these issues completed that we talk about every week, that's 8 advocates that then could take up another issue. And so I think that we're creating our own bottleneck in a way that we're saying that everybody can only advocate for one issue at a time, which I don't think is a bad policy, but I think that also in a way is actually discouraging people from working on issues generally if they're not the advocate for them, you know, if they can't actually add it to the next minor milestone. So I guess one thing I would say is that, you know, perhaps we can simply encourage people to pick up issues even if they're not an advocate and even if they're not in the 119 milestone. And then if it came down to it, they could, you know, remove themselves from one issue, add themselves to another issue, and then that would change where our focus is when we talk about things on a weekly basis. Yeah, because you're not wrong that lots of these issues actually already have really pretty solid starts, like reference module is, you know, there's a couple of different approaches in Contrib. Multiple file uploads is something that Doc Wilmot worked on a long time ago, and then I picked up for a little while. And that issue is actually surprisingly far along as well. So there's lots of things that are like that we've got pretty good solid starts on, but those people are occupied with other things, or at least they're advocating for other things at this point in time. But that doesn't mean that they need to stop working on the other issues.
I mean, automatic updates feels to me like a really great example of something that might actually be really close to finished. And it might, you know, like, so what's holding that up? Is it just that like nobody knows what to do next, or I don't know.
Yeah, we put in yeah, a lot of great work there too, and we have even templates on which we can base further work. Like there's an automatic updates initiative in Drupal that's also been happening, although mostly in Contrib. But there is now an automatic updates module for Drupal 7 that we can use as a model to actually get through the last remaining hurdles there, which I think primarily is how do we run update.php, which is something I haven't figured out yet, but I think that the Drupal Contrib solution has figured that part out.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of things there that are not only actionable, but actually very far along already.
Well, to tie this to back and make another plug for Backdrop Live next week. One thing that can happen is people can take any of these issues and suggest a discussion about them. I know we had really good discussions. We had a really good discussion, I thought, about the reference module at the last Backdrop Live, which was just, you know, sort of about like what work needs to be done. And I think we have some good notes that came out of that. We just haven't got anybody that's undertaken to do the work. But this is, you know, and I plan to do it to talk about recipes, because that's something I've been doing a little bit of work on in Contrib. So I'd like to talk about that during Backdrop Live. And maybe for now that work belongs in Contrib, but I need some help figuring out what the right approach is. I've just experimented like with one, and I'd like other ideas. So that's all.
Great.
I have a quick question.
Go for it.
Sorry if this was addressed in the other meeting or before I joined, but is there anything happening with the database clear log button issue thingy for the PMC?
I don't think so.
Did we open an issue yet, John? I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't remember. We should check.
Yeah, we'll check. The PMC has had a little more activity than usual, so we're sort of ramping up to get some work done. So that's at least hopeful. But yeah, it's been a little bit slow there in the PMC issue queue. And I think I've made it made a commitment to try and help get that issue in there and going. But either we've just created an issue and not talked about it yet, or it hasn't even got created yet, and we'll make that happen.
What was the issue that Peter's talking about? Clear log issue?
Peter, can you remind?
The on the database log page, which like the watchdog page, it has the button to clear all log messages, and there was a long ongoing discussion about where that button should be, like at the top or the bottom or on a separate page or in a photo or all this stuff. And we basically pushed it to the PMC to make a decision so we could move on with it. But yeah, it's been a while.
Nice. I was not aware of that. It's funny how sometimes it's not the big things, it's the little ones.
I think we've mostly talked about that. It's been on the agenda for like a year for the UX and design meeting, I think. And I think that's where it's normally gotten attention. But it has been on the agenda for a long time and it just is, it's stalled.
Okay. All right. Well, is there anything else today? All right. Well, thanks, folks, for joining the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for all of your hard work on Backdrop as always. We'll see you guys on the issue queue on Zulip and next week at this meeting. So thank you all very much.
Thanks, everyone.